What a strange game from Aidan O'Connell and the Las Vegas Raiders. They really didn't throw the ball. The last completion that Aidan O'Connell had was with about 2 minutes remaining in the first quarter, and they still came out with a pretty convincing victory. Mahomes and the Chiefs offense, 2 straight drives with 2 defensive touchdowns in favor of the Las Vegas Raiders. A pretty interesting game, to say the least. Mahomes had a pretty ugly game, 27 of 44, 288 total yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. I want to know, you've talked about the poor receiving core and how you don't trust them really that much. I want to know, do you think there's anything the Chiefs could do to get them back on track into Super Bowl winning aspirations and Super Bowl winning mode?
Well, this game, you said it. It was a weird game, right? The Chiefs scored first. They looked very good going down the field. Taylor Swift was there. She was screaming, yelling, and things all looked good there, right? Then they missed a field goal, right? Then Mahomes fumbled a handoff coming around and end around there. There it is, and the touchdown, right? That was unexpected. And then he threw this pass. Intercepted for pick 6.
Former Patriot Jack Jones.
Jack Jones. This is, you know what? That's the second. He did it 2 weeks in a row. 2 pick 6s.
The Chargers interception was insane. He completely jumped the route, and it was a tremendous interception. But continue. Sorry, I didn't want to cut you off there.
So maybe they shouldn't have let that guy go. Yeah. They have some good defensive backs, but letting him go, the Raiders, smart move picking him up. He's played great for them. And then, Aidan O'Connell couldn't do nothing. He could not do a thing. He was 9 of 21 for 62 yards, no touchdowns. He didn't complete a pass after the first quarter,
2 minutes left in the first quarter was the last time he completed a pass.
For the whole game. The thing that saved him was this guy, Zamir White.
Yeah.
Zamir White, 22 rushing attempts for 145 yards. That's odd for the Chiefs to give up that much yards on the ground, right? I mean, generally, they're pretty good against the run. So it was a weird game. Mahomes, 27 of 44, 235 yards, 1 TD. I've said it all year long. It's their receiving core that's going to keep them from getting to the Super Bowl this year. I don't think they get there.
So you're saying there's really nothing the Chiefs could do to say, you know what? This team looks like a Super Bowl team. There's nothing they could do. There's no... I'm not gonna say
I don't know what they can do with only 2 games to go. What are they going to do? They ain't going to go out and trade for anybody. You can't trade at this point. The trade deadline long since gone.
Right.
There's nobody you're going to pick up on waivers to come in and play well for you with only 2 weeks to go. You got to stick with what you've got, and what you got, I don't think is going to get you to the Super Bowl in terms of wide receiver talent.
Right. So you don't think that 2 dominant victories over Jake Browning and the Bengals and then Easton Stick and the Chargers, you don't think that could create any significant enough momentum when they're right now currently sitting at 9-6 and eliminated from the first overall seed?
They just lost to the Raiders with a quarterback who did not complete a pass after the first quarter.
Yeah.
So, and they made some stupid mistakes, and Mahomes has been doing this in games, throwing interceptions.
Yeah.
Right? How many interceptions does he have now?
This season, Mahomes has 14 interceptions.
14 interceptions.
Yeah.
Not good.
Not good.
Not good. That's got to be the highest in his career, I think, right?
Yeah, it's not pretty for Mahomes this season.
Yeah, this is not his greatest season, and I just don't think, they have a good defense. Not great, though. I mean, if they had a great defense, they should have beat a quarterback who only threw for 62 yards.
Right.
Right? They couldn't stop him on the ground. That was the bugaboo for them. So I would be, if I were a Chiefs fan, I'd be very worried. I don't think they've got what it takes to get to the promised land this year.
I was shocked about how great the Raiders defense was against the run, because that's what the Chiefs do. Isaiah Pacheco is probably their most explosive player this season. Travis Kelce, while yes, I acknowledge, first ballot Hall of Famer, a lot of people argue he's the greatest tight end of all time, although he can't block for anything, so you can't put him past a tremendous all-around tight end like Rob Gronkowski, who can block extremely well. So for me, it's Gronk until, there's really no time for Travis Kelce to become a phenomenal blocker. So if you talk about receiving tight end, take it. Don't care about that. Receiving tight end, even though you could argue, you have to break it down. I did a while ago. The offensive grades, Gronk is slightly higher still, but you could argue that regardless. The running game, Isaiah Pacheco has been their most explosive player, and that's really where they develop a consistent offense of him getting on the ground, getting 6-7 yards a run, and creating some sort of offense. In this game, 11 carries, 26 yards, 1 touchdown. Not really much production from them. So it needed to be Patrick Mahomes to carry him, and when you throw for 44 times, and your offense doesn't look great right now, and you're throwing to Rashee Rice, Kadarius Toney was, I don't know if Chiefs fans are breathing a sigh of relief. He was inactive for this game in case of a tipped interception, which he's prone to do this season. The receivers aren't really that great. And you really were on top of this, I think, very early on. When there was a little bit of worry, we talked about the Chiefs, and you said this receiving core really isn't all that. And I agree with you. Rashee Rice, he's a budding prospect in the league. He's interesting. There's some life there. Outside of that, you really got nothing. Travis Kelce, I don't know if it's the Taylor Swift fever. I don't know if he's distracted. I don't know what it is. Is he hurt? I'm not entirely sure. But what I see from Travis Kelce is he's not a phenomenal tight end. Right now, he's not great.
You know why, I think?
Yeah.
It's because teams have figured out that nobody else can catch the ball out there. So they're doubling. They're taking Kelce out of the game with double teams and spies on him and making the other guys beat you, and they can't.
Right.
So that's what's happened there.
Could be. Very well could be. I'm also very, very impressed. An offensive line who, in the past few seasons, at least with Derek Carr, the offensive line was ranked bottom 10 in the league in basically everything. This go around, they opened up holes for Zamir White to be tremendous. 22 carries for 145 yards, 6.6 yards a carry. That's insane, absolutely insane. And then the defense, which for the past couple seasons has been ranked 30th in the league, they had a phenomenal game. 2 defensive touchdowns. Jack Jones, I don't know if it's because he's back with Antonio Pierce, and I believe he was his high school and college coach, but he is on an absolute heater right now. He's played tremendous for them so far. So when it comes to that, and I'll say this, I don't know really if the Raiders are going to do this or are doing this currently by saying that it's an open coaching market. If I'm Mark Davis, I'm not making the same mistake I made with Rich Bisaccia. The players believed in Rich Bisaccia. They came back from a decently poor start to a season and made the playoffs. And were this close to, I believe, beating Joe Burrow in that playoff. I might be wrong about that, but they were this close to winning that first playoff game. The players, I don't know if they may believe in Antonio Pierce more than they did Rich Bisaccia. Because the way they're playing recently, they're second in the AFC West. This team was horrible with Jimmy Garoppolo at quarterback and Josh McDaniels as the head coach. They're second in the AFC West. So if I'm Mark Davis, I wouldn't publicly say that Antonio Pierce is my head coach, because I think that's when people would. It may be. I'm not saying that this happens, but the players are trying extremely hard. Keep it in limbo until the end of the season.
Yeah.
Until
what's the Raiders' record now?
The Raiders are currently 7-8.
So do they still have a chance to get in if they win their last 2 and maybe they need some help?
The playoffs?
Yeah.
Yes, but they would need a little bit of help.
Yeah.
They would need Buffalo to start lose. They would need to win out to have a 9-8 record. They would need Indy to lose games. They would need Houston to lose games. They would need Buffalo to also lose a couple games, and then they have an opportunity.
No, but if Indy and Houston lost their last 2 games and the Raiders won their last 2 games, they probably would be in.
They'd probably be in. The last 2 games that they play are at Colts, so there's one.
Okay.
And then home against the Broncos. And and I think when it comes to this, Antonio Pierce, just like we talked about with Bisaccia, Pierce should be the next head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders. These players believe in him. Mm-hmm. However, I think I don't know if he's intentionally doing this, but I think it would be smart to not publicly announce it until the end of however far the Raiders go. If they don't make the playoffs, you could announce it the week after. I don't care when. But the players are playing extremely hard right now, and I think it's one, to prove that they are a decent team, and also to prove that their head coach, Antonio Pierce, is a good head coach. So I would keep up this limbo of, oh yeah, we're looking around for other head coaches. Meanwhile, the best guy for the job, the person who the team believes in, is right there in your own building, and his name is Antonio Pierce.
Well, you may be right.
That's what I would do.
Yeah.
Keep it in limbo until the end of the season, so the players keep playing as hard as they are. If their
they still have a chance to get into the playoffs, so they should be playing hard.
Currently, Pierce has more wins than Josh McDaniels did in one fewer game. Josh McDaniels went 3-5. Antonio Pierce is 4-3, and they look better.
Yeah,
they don't look great because Aidan O'Connell is a quarterback.
They beat the Chiefs. The Chiefs are no slouch.
Well, this season you might have a difference of opinion there.
No, but I don't think they're the Chiefs are not a slouch team.
What they did to Patrick Mahomes, I'll give you. What they did in this game to Patrick Mahomes was interesting because this was one of Mahomes' worst games maybe ever. And what I find fascinating about this Chiefs team overall is from 2018 to 2020, Mahomes in this offense only scored 20 points or under 20 points 6 total times in that 4 or 5 year span. Mm-hmm. They've done it 7 times in this season alone.
Yeah, well, the Chiefs didn't. Mahomes was the leading rusher. He had 53 yards in the game. That was right. So they had no real running game. So it's you got to have a running game to balance things out. Right. So
that's where Pacheco comes in. What I say was his most explosive.
He didn't perform in this game. He was not nowhere.
Right,
to be
11
found
carries,
in this
26
game.
yards. It was very, very ugly.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I really this is not the Chiefs' year. It doesn't look like a Super Bowl team, and honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if they're one and done. I wouldn't be at all.
No, I don't think they'll make it to the Super Bowl this year.
I think it's going to be very, very difficult. They're the 4 seed. They play the 5 seed, which currently is Baltimore. I would take Baltimore to beat Kansas City in the first playoff game. 1,000% I would. Because I just think that Baltimore's defense can disrupt an offensive line.
Baltimore should get the bye, right? The Ravens.
I'm sorry. Cleveland. I mean Cleveland.
Yeah.
They play Cleveland in the first round, who's currently, I believe, the 5 seed.
I think Cleveland will give them a run for their money.
I do as well, because I think the defense of Cleveland can manipulate the 2 tackles, Jawan Taylor and would-be Donovan Smith, who was out the past couple, at least this past week. I think Myles Garrett could have a field day, and I think that could make Mahomes uncomfortable, which you see him in these games. He looks extremely uncomfortable, running to his right, running to his left, trying to make his Mahomes magic happen, and he doesn't have a guy who on a whim could go flick out and be open for 15 yards.
Plus the Browns
Kelsey was that guy. They're doubling and tripling him when the play breaks down.
They don't have to worry about the other receivers. They aren't that good. They just count on double teaming Kelsey, and that slows down. You've seen what it's done to the Chiefs' offense. It's not what it used to be by a long shot. And the Browns, they found something with Joe Flacco.
And that's
right,
surprising.
throwing those big rainbow long passes, man.
Yeah,
that's what he's good at. And he's made Amari Cooper look like a world beater.
Yeah. David Njoku also has life. He went from the 10th tight end in fantasy to now the 2nd in fantasy. So Joe Flacco has had a revival of his career. And you know what? Good for him. He was sitting on a couch like 5 weeks ago.
Yeah, right.
And now he's out here winning football games for the Cleveland Browns and looks like the 2012
Makes you
Joe
wonder
Flacco.
what the Jets were thinking about with their offense when they had Flacco. He didn't play that well with them. It must have been the offense. Because,
well, he started off, I think, he may have been. He was near like first in the league. I think he was 3rd in the league in passing yards for the first couple weeks.
Then they benched him.
They benched him, yeah.
And then Wilson was in there, played terrible, and then they brought him back, and he was terrible when they brought him back.
I think that was poor offensive line we're seeing now.
Yeah.
I'm happy for Joe Flacco because what's crazy about this Browns team is they've had 4 quarterbacks and they're 10-5.
Yeah.
They have, if you take a look at just records of the AFC, they have the 3rd best record in the AFC.
I'd say their coach.
It's only because Baltimore is so good.
The coach gets a lot of credit this year. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not a big fan of Cleveland, I must say. I never have been. But I give the coach some credit this year. He's managed it quite well. 4 different quarterbacks and finding Joe Flacco and having Flacco perform the way he has the last 4 or 5 weeks. It's really been quite remarkable.
I'll say this. The Browns are, if the Browns were in any other division in the AFC, they would be the leader in 2 out of the 4 divisions, and very close to be the leader in 3. They're 1 game behind Miami if the Browns were in the AFC East.
The season isn't over yet.
They would be huge favorites.
Who do they have in the last 2 games?
Cleveland?
Yeah.
Cleveland has in the last 2 games currently at a 10-5 record. Home against the Jets, at Bengals. Those are 2 wins right there.
Should be.
We're going to talk about the Thursday game after this. After a couple topics.
So they'll have 12 wins.
Yeah. So they're going to be 12 wins. I'm not saying Lamar falls.
Should make them the 2 seed, I would think, right?
Well, they would need to lead their division if that's the case.
No, but they should be the 2.
Baltimore right now leads the division. So
that's right.
They would need to pass.
They can't be the 2 seed.
No, because the division winner gets the top 4. Each of the division win. Because think about it, Brady and the Bucks wouldn't be number 4.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So they'll be the 5 seed.
5 seed. Yeah, and they have a pretty Buffalo is like 1 game behind them. So I have a lot of faith that if the Ravens lose the last two, Cleveland, I believe, would win the AFC North. Which, if the Browns win the AFC North with Joe Flacco, give him comeback player of the year. Because what he did with the Browns, Baker Mayfield didn't do it. Deshaun Watson didn't look like he could do it. DTR damn sure couldn't do it. PJ Walker absolutely couldn't do it. Joe Flacco comes in. Amari Cooper becomes phenomenal. David Njoku's getting a bunch of touches. Like, give credit to Kevin Stefanski. Give massive credit to Joe Flacco for coming off the couch and doing this. It's insane. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, if you want to check out the full episode, make sure you click the I in the top right-hand corner right now. If you want to listen to this show anywhere you go, make sure you go to anchor.fm/The Harvey Hour or anywhere you get your podcasts.